Hi, you're on the Reddit Confessions channel. Let's get into a story that begins with silence and ends with someone falling apart. There was shattered glass on the bathroom floor, and she didn't even flinch. She stepped over it, barefoot, like it wasn't there. Like I wasn't there. I didn't say anything. I was still holding the picture frame. The one that fell. The one we took on our 4th anniversary in Vermont. The one with the lake behind us, pretending we were still happy. She glanced at me briefly, then turned toward the mirror and started removing her makeup. She wasn't crying. She wasn't even mad. Just done. That's what scared me the most. When I finally opened my mouth, it came out weaker than I wanted. I don't understand what I did. Her eyes didn't leave her reflection. Of course you don't. Then she said it, quiet, clipped, like it wasn't the first time she'd rehearsed it in her head. Don't come near me. She could have stabbed me, and it would have hurt less. I stood there with the frame pressed to my stomach like a shield, trying to process what she meant. If it was heat of the moment stuff, or something final. But she didn't clarify. She just brushed past me and left the bathroom, leaving wet footprints and silence in her wake. That was the moment everything changed. But if I'm honest with you, things had been rotting long before that. Like how her phone never left her hand, even during dinner. Like how she suddenly started staying late for meetings that didn't exist on her company calendar. Or how she changed her phone password and acted like I was paranoid for noticing. I wasn't stupid, just slow to accept the truth. But that night, when she told me not to come near her, it was the first time she admitted it without admitting it. I didn't sleep. I sat on the floor next to the washer, holding that broken frame, just listening to the spin cycle and pretending the noise made me feel less alone. The next day, she left the house without saying a word. I waited an hour before checking the security app. She hadn't gone to work. She'd gone downtown. I zoomed in on the footage. She met someone at a street corner. Tall, clean cut, probably 5 years younger than me. They didn't hug. They didn't kiss. But the way they looked at each other? That wasn't new. That was familiar. That was practiced. I didn't follow them. I didn't call her. I didn't scream. I packed a duffel bag, left her a note that simply said, "You don't have to say it. I heard you." Then I walked out. She didn't call. Didn't text. Not that night. Not the next. But 5 days later, she did something I never saw coming. Something that told me she wasn't nearly as ready for me to disappear as she pretended to be. The first 48 hours after I walked out, I kept waiting for the text. You know the one. The "where are you?" or the "can we talk?" But it never came. Instead, the silence echoed louder than any apology ever could. I checked my phone every 10 minutes like an idiot, rereading the note I'd left on the kitchen counter. You don't have to say it. I heard you. I thought maybe it would shake her, make her realize what she'd done. But it didn't. Or so I thought. By the 3rd day, I gave in and checked our shared bank account. That's when I saw it. 5 separate purchases from a boutique hotel downtown. Room service, spa, champagne, all charged to her card. She wasn't mourning. She was celebrating. But the part that really gutted me? The charges stopped on the 5th day. Abruptly. Nothing else. Just silence. That same evening, I got a message. Not from her. From her younger sister, Macy. "Hey, I don't know what's going on, but she's not okay. I think you should know that." I almost ignored it. Almost. But something in those few words felt off. I didn't respond. Instead, I called Macy. She picked up on the first ring. Lowell. Her voice was low. Tense. She's been calling me nonstop. Crying. Rambling. She thinks you're never coming back. I almost laughed. She told me to leave. She looked me dead in the eyes and said, "Don't come near me." Did she think I'd just wait around like some backup generator until she needed me again? Then Macy dropped something that made my stomach turn. She told me Toby dumped her. She said it's all ruined. That she should have handled things differently. That she made a mistake. Toby. The name from the unsent email. So it was real. She had someone. She chose him. And when he left, then she suddenly started remembering I existed. I didn't say much to Macy. Just thanked her, hung up, and sat in my cheap motel room with peeling wallpaper and a humming mini fridge, staring at the ceiling, trying to decide if I was still in love with a version of someone who never existed in the first place. Then my phone buzzed again. It was her this time. Just 3 words. "Please come home." I stared at that message for 23 minutes before typing a single word. Please come home. She had 7 years to say something like that. 7 years of dinners where I did the dishes while she stared blankly at her phone. 7 years of holidays where I bought her gifts she didn't unwrap for days. 7 years of slowly disappearing into the background of her life, like an old photograph on a sunlit windowsill. But now that Toby vanished, she suddenly remembered I exist? I didn't reply. I powered off my phone and threw it across the bed like it burned. But I couldn't stop shaking. Not with rage. With confusion. I didn't know if I wanted to scream or sob, or just drive somewhere and disappear. Because as much as I wanted to hate her, and believe me, I tried, some pathetic part of me still longed to hear her voice whisper my name like she used to when things were good. If they were ever really good. Around midnight, I gave in. I drove back to the house. I don't know why. Curiosity? Weakness? Closure? I parked a few houses down and walked the rest of the way, hood up, heart pounding like I was breaking into someone else's life. The porch light was off, but her car was there. I peeked through the window, not proud of it, and what I saw made my jaw clench. She was sitting on the floor, wrapped in a blanket, wine bottle beside her, mascara streaked across her face. She wasn't watching TV, just staring at the door, waiting. I almost knocked. Almost. But then I saw it. On the coffee table, a framed photo of us, turned face down. That tiny detail hit harder than any slap. If I meant so much, why was the memory of me still shoved under glass? I walked away, quietly. No drama, no doorbell, no note. Just the cold night and the crunch of gravel under my shoes. I made it back to my car before the tears came. Not for her. For the version of me that once believed she was home. Back at the motel, I turned my phone on again. Another message. You win. He's gone. You can have me back. Have her back? Like I was some standby appliance she could plug in now that the new model failed? I didn't sleep that night. But I did finally make a decision. She thought this was about winning? She had no idea what she just lost. You can have me back. Those words played on a loop in my head like some cursed melody I couldn't shut off. I read the message at least 30 times. Each time, I hoped it would read differently, like maybe I had misunderstood her tone. But no, it was clear. She wasn't reaching out because she loved me. She was offering herself like a returned sweater after the new one didn't fit. And what shook me the most was how casual she made it sound. Like love was a lease agreement, and her previous tenant bailed early. The next morning, I left the motel before sunrise. I needed air. Not the kind from windows cracked open, but the kind that stung your lungs and reminded you that you're still alive, even if you didn't feel like it. I drove to the overlook where we had once watched the fireworks on our second anniversary. She cried that night, back then, but it was the good kind of crying. She'd said, "No matter what happens, it's you and me." I remember how tightly she held my hand, like she meant it. And maybe she did. But something changed. Somewhere between routine and resentment. She stopped seeing me as a person and more like a fixture. Predictable. Replaceable. I sat on the hood of my car, the cold metal pressing through my jeans, trying to figure out when exactly I became optional. I didn't answer her text. Not then. Not yet. But she didn't wait long. That afternoon, she showed up at my office. Yes, my actual job. I hadn't told her where I was staying, so she decided to invade the only other space I had left. She walked in like she hadn't humiliated me. Like she hadn't thrown away everything for a fling with someone who, apparently, had already ghosted her. I'll never forget the way she said my name. All soft, like she was the victim. "Lowell, can we talk?" My coworkers looked up, curious. I felt their stares dig into me like splinters. I stood up slowly and asked her to step outside. She did. And the moment we were alone, her facade cracked. "I messed up," she said. "I thought I wanted something new, but he used me. I didn't expect that." I didn't say anything. "Not yet. I still love you," she added, too fast, like she was reading from a bad script. Then came the line that made me feel nauseous. "We can fix this. You always fix things." That's when I realized the truth. She didn't want me. She wanted a janitor for the emotional mess she created. And for the first time in years, I didn't want to clean it up. Her words echoed through my head like a fire alarm in a locked room. You always fix things. That's what I had become to her. Not a partner, not a person. Just a patch. A wrench. A backup plan with a pulse. Standing outside my office building while she pleaded for mercy felt like watching someone audition for a role they never studied for. She looked at me with teary eyes like she expected me to crumble. And once, maybe I would have. Once, I would have forgiven her just to stop the ache in my chest. But now, I felt nothing but tired. I told her we'd talk later. Not because I planned to, but because I needed space to process the fact that the woman I once adored had come crawling back not with love, but with desperation. That night, she sent another message. This one was longer. I know I broke everything. I thought I needed more, but I was wrong. I got caught up in the attention. He made me feel important. And I was stupid. But you and I have history. Real history. That means something, doesn't it? I didn't respond. Instead, I drove past the boutique hotel from the receipts. I didn't know what I was looking for. Maybe closure, maybe a ghost. But what I didn't expect was to see him. Toby. He was standing outside, talking on the phone. Laughing. Alive. Normal. Unbothered. He didn't look like a man who just walked away from a woman sobbing in a blanket 2 nights ago. He looked like someone who had already moved on, like none of it had ever mattered. And that's when something broke inside me. Not because he was fine, but because she wasn't. Because even after all the lies, all the betrayal, some twisted, pathetic part of me still wanted her to matter to someone. Just so all of this wouldn't feel so worthless. I went back to the motel and sat in the dark. I didn't eat. I didn't turn on the lights. I just sat there staring at the door, wondering how a woman I gave my entire life to could be reduced to a transaction in another man's timeline. The next morning, I got an email from her. Subject line, final try. Inside was a photo. Her engagement ring. In a glass of water. Caption, I'll leave it here. If you come home, it means something. If you don't, I'll know. And I hated how badly I wanted to go. I stared at the photo for so long my phone screen dimmed twice. The ring, my grandmother's, floating in a glass like some twisted science experiment. The symbolism wasn't lost on me. It wasn't placed back in a box. Not laid on a pillow. It was drowned. Submerged. As if she wanted me to rescue it. Rescue us. Like I was the one who'd thrown everything into the deep end. But that's the thing. I didn't drop the ring. I didn't cheat. I didn't vanish into someone else's arms while she sat at home hoping I'd come back. That was her story. And now she wanted to reframe it like we both slipped. Like we both got wet. I didn't respond to the email. But I did drive by the house again. Twice. I don't know what I was looking for. Maybe some sign that she was hurting the way I'd been hurting. Maybe to see if the glass was still there, condensation clinging to it like cold sweat. I parked across the street and watched the front window like I was waiting for a ghost. Instead, I saw her silhouette, pacing, talking on the phone, her hands moving fast, frustrated. For a moment, I thought maybe she was trying to reach me again. But no, she was laughing. Then she said something that knocked the breath out of my lungs. Not because I heard it clearly, but because the man she was speaking to stepped into view. Toby. He was back. Back in our house. The same guy she swore had ghosted her. The same one who used her. He walked in like nothing had ever happened, tossed his jacket on the back of my chair, and kissed her forehead like he lived there now. And she let him. I froze. I didn't take a photo. Didn't knock. Didn't yell. I just sat there, humiliated, the glow from their living room mocking me like a campfire I wasn't invited to. 15 minutes later, the ring photo disappeared from my inbox. Message unsent. Then a new one arrived. Forget what I said. I was emotional. This is what I want now. That was it. No apology. No explanation. No regret. Just a replacement. Just a rewrite of the story where I was never needed at all. And yet, even then, I didn't block her. Because some pathetic part of me still wanted to see what would happen next. I read that message again and again. Forget what I said. I was emotional. This is what I want now. It didn't feel like closure. It felt like eviction. Like I was being kicked out of a memory I helped build. As if every year, every small sacrifice, every quiet moment I spent choosing her meant nothing. She rewrote the ending without me, mid-sentence, and didn't even hesitate. But I did. I hesitated so long it started to rot me from the inside out. I didn't leave town. I didn't delete her number. I stayed nearby like some pathetic satellite still trying to orbit a planet that had already exploded. 2 days passed before I did something stupid. I called her mom. It wasn't planned. I had her number saved from years ago, and my thumb hovered over it like it had a pulse of its own. I hit dial. She answered on the third ring, a bit surprised, but warm. Her voice used to feel like home. Lowell, she asked. Sweetheart, are you okay? I didn't even ask about Amanda at first. I just asked how she was doing. How the cat was. If she still made those lemon bars she used to send me on my birthday. She laughed softly. And then, after a beat of silence, she sighed. She's not herself anymore, she whispered. I don't even know who she's with these days. First, it was that man. What's his name, Toby? Then he left, and now I think he's back. I stopped asking. Every time I do, she shuts me out. I felt this strange mixture of bitterness and relief. So it wasn't just me. Even her own mother could see it. Then she said something I didn't expect. She's been unraveling, Lowell. She acts like she's in control, but she's not. You were the glue. And now everything's slipping. I didn't cry. I didn't speak. I just sat there holding the phone to my ear like I was trying to hold the past in my hands. That night, I finally opened her last message again. I typed one line. You don't get to replace someone and then call it clarity. I hit send. But what happened next? I never saw it coming. I didn't expect a reply. After everything, the lies, the silence, the swapping of hearts like spare batteries, I figured my last message would vanish into the same emotional void where she'd buried our marriage. But just before midnight, it came. No text, no call, just a voice memo. I hesitated, thumb hovering over the play button like it might detonate. And in a way it did. Her voice was trembling. Not the polished, icy tone she'd mastered. This was raw, unfiltered. You're right, she said. I treated you like you were an option. And maybe you were the only real thing I ever had. But I can't fix what I broke. I hope you find someone who doesn't make you feel like a backup plan. That was the first time I heard honesty in her voice in a long, long time. It didn't make me forgive her, but it made me realize something else. I was finally free. Not free as in alone. Free as in, no longer waiting. No longer hoping. No longer orbiting a collapsed star, begging for warmth that wasn't there. I moved out of that motel the next morning. Got a small place outside the city, nothing fancy, just quiet, clean, and entirely mine. I picked up painting again. I went to the beach alone for the first time in years and didn't feel like I needed to fill the silence. And a few weeks later, life surprised me. I was at a bookstore, thumbing through a weathered copy of a novel I used to love. A woman reached for the same book. We both paused. She smiled. Not flirtatious. Just warm. Like she saw me. Really saw me. Her name was Elsie. We didn't rush it. We exchanged numbers. Talked for weeks before even grabbing coffee. She listened. And when I told her what I'd been through, she didn't pity me. She said, you didn't lose her. You just outgrew the version of yourself who thought you needed her. I don't know where this path goes. But for once, I'm not afraid of the unknown. Because I finally chose myself. Now I want to hear from you. What moment in this story hit you the hardest? Was it the glass of water? The returned lover? The voicemail? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We read everything. And remember, sometimes, losing someone you thought you needed is the beginning of finding yourself. Stay tuned, stay honest, and take care.